After his sudden death on Thursday, the Santa Fe and New Mexico community remembers the impact of Academy Award-winning actor Gene Hackman. And Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has signed bills related to crime and behavioral health. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Friday, February 28th, and I'll have more on those stories, plus a look at the Journal's other headlines and Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
The sudden deaths of two-time Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife, classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, have deeply impacted the Santa Fe arts community. The couple, longtime New Mexico residents since the 1980s, were well known as generous patrons of the arts. Their deaths, announced on Thursday, are currently under investigation. Hackman, who is famous for his roles in The French Connection and Mississippi Burning, developed a deep love for Santa Fe while filming Bite the Bullet and Wyatt Earp in northern New Mexico. Film Commissioner Jennifer Labar Tapia described him as, quote, one of the nicest guys you'd ever hope to meet and a dedicated supporter of the local arts and dining scene.
The rest of the world knows him for his 2 Academy Awards for The French Connection and Unforgiven, and many iconic performances in Bonnie and Clyde, Mississippi Burning, Superman, The Birdcage, etc.
My colleague Logan Beitman is an arts reporter for the Journal.
But here locally, especially in Santa Fe, he was really a beloved member of the community, the arts community, and the larger New Mexican community, where he's been really a patron of the arts and was really beloved by the community here.
Beyond acting, Hackman invested in local restaurants, co-owning Ginger Bar and Bistro and Cafe Escalera. Jacques Purner, director of the Santa Fe International Film Festival, recalled first meeting Hackman at Cafe Escalera and called him, quote, our movie star, alongside Shirley MacLaine and Robert Redford. Hackman was instrumental in establishing the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, which opened in 1997. He served on the museum's board of trustees and narrated the documentary Georgia O'Keeffe, A Life in Art. The museum released a statement expressing gratitude for his contributions and deep support for the arts. The New Mexico State Senate honored Hackman with a moment of silence on Thursday afternoon as well. Senator Joseph Cervantes, a Democrat from Las Cruces, remembered him as a humble, down-to-earth presence, stating, quote, we were all privileged to call him a New Mexican. Hackman's passing leaves a profound void, but his legacy as an artist, philanthropist, and community member will endure in Santa Fe and beyond. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham signed a set of high-profile crime and behavioral health bills into law on Thursday, marking a key step in addressing New Mexico's public safety challenges. The bills, which were fast-tracked by Democratic legislative leaders, focus on tackling violent crime, fentanyl tracking, and mental health issues. However, the governor emphasized that while these measures are important, they're not enough.
I think there's a lot more to be done, and I am hopeful. There are 200 bills out there. We have 30 days, plenty of time. I've seen these bodies in an hour figure out very complicated issues. There's a lot more to be done.
The newly signed crime bill, House Bill 8, includes several provisions aimed at curbing crime across the state. It increases penalties for fentanyl tracking, auto theft, and drug driving, while also banning devices that convert semi-automatic firearms into fully automatic weapons. Additionally, it introduces reforms in how the state handles criminal defendants deemed incompetent to stand trial, allowing for dangerousness evaluations and expanded treatment options. New Mexico has struggled with keeping repeat offenders accountable due to gaps in competency rulings. Data cited by the governor shows that over 16,000 criminal charges were dismissed statewide between 2017 and 2023 due to competency findings, with about 3,200 individuals responsible for those cases. Despite bipartisan support for House Bill 8, some crime-related proposals remain stalled. A key debate revolves around juvenile justice reforms and pretrial detention laws. Bernalillo County District Attorney Sam Bregman is leading efforts to impose stricter penalties on violent youth offenders, arguing that tougher consequences can coexist with behavioral health initiatives. However, advocacy groups have pushed back, emphasizing prevention strategies over harsher punishments.
One thing with this, this behavioral health and crime bills, that the legislature was able to kind of address both sides of that, the prevention side and also the consequences side.
My colleague Dan Boyd is the Journal's Capitol Bureau Chief and has been covering the legislative session.
So I do think with those bills that made it into the package, they were able to address that, but that's been a long-running debate here at the Roundhouse. I mean, do you focus more on prevention and treatment side, or do you focus more on the tougher penalties and kind of criminal deterrent side? So we'll see how the debate of those plays out in the final weeks. I think that's going to be a tougher sell, but the governor made it clear, she's not satisfied with what they've done so far, even though, as I mentioned, she did commend the legislators for it, but it's clear that, this book isn't over yet.
Lujan Grisham did express disappointment that lawmakers have not advanced certain crime bills, including measures restricting convicted felons from possessing firearms. Some legislators argue that penalties for such offenses were already increased in 2020, making further change unnecessary. While no Republican lawmakers attended the ceremonial bill signing, GOP leaders voiced support for additional crime legislation. House Minority Leader Gail Armstrong, a Republican from Magdalena, criticized the Democratic-led crime package as incomplete, saying, quote, "New Mexicans are waiting for the full meal." Despite being outnumbered in both legislative chambers, Republicans vow to continue pushing for tougher public safety measures. With the legislative session's March 22nd adjournment date approaching, the governor and lawmakers remain focused on passing more crime-related bills. The newly signed crime package will officially take effect on June 20th, in accordance with state law. However, with New Mexico's violent crime rate nearly twice the national average, the debate over public safety reforms is far from over. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. In other headlines from the newsroom, Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen expressed deep anger and betrayal after firing his former undersheriff Haran Herreno, who was linked to a major public corruption case involving bribery to dismiss DWI cases. Although Herreno has not been charged, Allen said his growing suspicion made it a, quote, easy decision to fire him last weekend. Allen, visibly emotional, slammed his fist on the podium, saying, quote, "Now I have to cut the head off the snake." His comments came a day after a photo surfaced of him with Herreno and Ricardo Rick Mendez, a paralegal who pleaded guilty in the scheme. Allen insisted he was unaware of any wrongdoing and called suggestions otherwise, quote, idiotic. The scandal, which has already led to several officers and one BCSO deputy taking plea deals, has shaken Allen's confidence in his team. He admitted he understood why federal authorities kept him in the dark during the investigation. After learning more details, he threw up in his office trash can and started closely watching Herreno's behavior. When Herreno admitted that he had been interviewed by the FBI, Allen took it as the, quote, nail in the coffin and fired him within 24 hours. Now, the sheriff is questioning whether others in his department are involved, vowing to remove anyone connected to the corruption scheme. With the investigation ongoing, Allen acknowledged, quote, "Nothing surprises me anymore," and promised to rebuild trust within his agency. Senator Martin Heinrich and Representative Gabe Vasquez have urged New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres to investigate whether Ben Archer Health Clinics violated the law when it briefly implemented a policy denying care to undocumented patients. On Wednesday, signs appeared at multiple Ben Archer locations stating that per a February 19, 2025 executive order signed by President Donald Trump, undocumented immigrants were no longer eligible for federally funded services. The order aimed to restrict federal benefits for undocumented individuals and enhance eligibility verification systems. Ben Archer Health Clinics removed the signs later that day after receiving guidance from the New Mexico Department of Health, but not before reports surfaced of patients being denied prescription refills without proof of citizenship. Ben Archer Health Clinic CEO Mary Alice Garay has not responded to media inquiries. Heinrich and Vasquez, both Democrats, argue the executive executive order does not apply to healthcare and that Ben Archer's actions may have violated state and federal laws. Their letter to AG Torres states, Ben Archer Health Clinics demands that patients produce proof of U.S. citizenship in order to receive basic health care appear to violate both state and federal law. Their actions also unquestionably run counter to Ben Archer Health Clinic's mission statement, emphasizing access to health services for underserved populations. Ben Archer operates 11 clinics in southern New Mexico, providing primary and dental care, health education, and social services with funding from federal, state, and local sources. It also is a partner of Las Cruces Public Schools, offering health services at 3 high schools. In response to the controversy, Las Cruces Public Schools Superintendent Ignacio Ruiz reassured families that its school-based clinics remain open to all students. He criticized the White House directive as, quote, unfortunate, especially amid a rising need for mental health services and a measles outbreak in Lee County. He also confirmed that any eligibility restrictions at school-based clinics have been suspended. As scrutiny mounts, the New Mexico Attorney General's office is expected to review whether Ben Archer's policy changes were lawful and ensure that patients were not being asked about their immigration status. And a heated public meeting on Wednesday night saw over 100 Albuquerque residents expressing frustration over potential changes to Expo New Mexico and the state fair. The meeting followed the state's sudden cancellation of a bidding process for a master plan to redevelop the fairgrounds into a mixed-use site. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham initially announced a $500,000 request for proposals in December, but it was unexpectedly scrapped. A new RFP will be issued next week, according to Acting General Services Secretary Anna Silva. Former Albuquerque Mayor Martin Chavez, tasked with overseeing the project, said he was unaware of the cancellation's reasons. The crowd erupted in anger and skepticism when Chavez suggested the fair might be relocated. Bernalillo County Commissioner Adrian Barboa, who organized the meeting for transparency, reassured attendees that no final decision has been made, but public distrust remained high. Community members voiced concerns that crime and homelessness in the area should be addressed separately rather than using a redevelopment plan as the solution. Those who attended the meeting argued that the public has already lost meaningful input and that moving the state fair is heartbreaking. Bernalillo County Commission Chairman Eric Avilas acknowledged the backlash, emphasizing that the public opposes moving the fair and urging better crime prevention efforts. He criticized the state's decision to cancel the RFP, saying it sets progress back significantly. Meanwhile, county commissioners will vote on March 11th whether to establish a tax increment development district at the fairgrounds, a move initially requested by the state. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 66, and this evening mostly clear with a low around 34. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. I'm Gino Gutierrez. The leading news will return on Monday.